Hey, welcome to episode 5 of Worth 1000 Words, where I attempt to write a 1000 word short story based on a piece of artwork. If you're new here, my name is Jason and I'm a fiction writer. And if you tuned in last week to episode 4, you'll remember that I wasn't too happy with what I wrote. So today we're giving it a second shot in the genre of horror. Let's check out the artwork. Today's artwork is titled Lives by the Lake by Alexander Mandradjiev. He's a cinematic illustrator out of Los Angeles. He has a lot of really nice work on his portfolio on ArtStation. This one I found by typing horror in the search field up top. And I'm sure, as you can see, why it caught my eye. This is a very interesting piece. Some kind of creepy girl in the darkness with these piercing eyes that are glowing. I think it's going to be challenging also because there's really not much else going on, but she has a story to tell, and that is my job today. So thank you, Alexander. I look forward to checking out more of your work, and I encourage anyone else to do so as well. I will put everything down in the description below. All right, let's move on to the writing. Well, guys, I screwed up. Somehow I forgot to put the screen recorder on while I was writing. Maybe I was too into it. I have no idea. But anyway, you can see at the 55-minute mark, I somehow remembered. So I will just play through this last bit as proof to show that I actually did this. So hopefully this is enough. This was not edited. There's no fanciness happening here. There's no visual effects, clearly. I believe I was a little over an hour when I finished. So I was pretty happy with this one. I think I captured something somewhat horrific, kind of a ghost story, maybe. But I did something interesting, at least to me. I told the story from the point of view of this creature or this entity, this girl in the lake, watching these two girls, ready to consume them or consume one of them. You'll see when I go through the story. So I just want to show you that I do hit 1,000 words here. I believe I go quite a bit over originally, and then bring it back down. I was probably, actually, I shouldn't say quite a bit. I think I was maybe 1,050, maybe 1,100. I was trying to write in a sparse manner. Like I wanted to keep the sentences tight and clean and not too wordy. I did decide when I was keeping an eye on the word count that when I reached close to 500, that's when I started to change it. Kind of the turning point, the midpoint, if you want to call it that, of the scene or the story. And I started taking it to the climax that I had in mind. And that's it. So I stopped at, where am I? An hour 4. So yeah, an hour 4. Not too bad. All right, so I'm going to follow this up with me just scrolling down the writing, highlighting it as I go, talking about the various pieces and my thought processes there. All right, so we are at the top of the document. And as I said previously, I wanted to tell this from the POV of this creature or this girl with these piercing eyes, these illuminated eyes. Now, there wasn't a lot in this image, clearly. There wasn't multiple characters, so I had to kind of just decide how to approach that. And I thought maybe this girl was watching these two girls on a rooftop. Somewhere like, I don't know, I imagine like a lake house. In the evening, these two girls having a sleepover. And so as you can see up here, the wind carried their voices soft and familiar. I wanted to establish that this character could hear and see them from this distance. And that's what I did. And then I immediately get into dialogue where the new girl speaks up first, the one who's not known. And then I make sure to show here that the creature can see them. And here we learn her name is Madeline, but this creature knows what, Madeline to her grandmother, Maddie to her mother, Mads to her father. What does this new girl call her? So she was curious, or it was curious. Oh, misspelling. Look at that. There we go. Fixed it in post. I guess that doesn't count, right? Yeah, this creature, this entity was curious as to what what this new friend called her. And there we go, Maddie. And then we have an acknowledgement here. And then they go into talk about, so bright outside, not sure if I can sleep. And I think one thing that I went back and forth on this a lot, and I'm not sure that it's really apparent in the screen recording, but if I was going to italicize this as dialogue, which maybe I should have for clarity, because as you'll see as I move on, a lot of this is told from the perspective, I mean, well, the whole thing's told from the perspective of this creature or girl, whatever you want to call it. I wanted to make sure that wasn't confusing, that we knew whose head we were in rather than the girl. So I tried to keep the girls distant. I tried to keep every action they did very objective, or I should say viewable from the outside, versus having any kind of actions internal on their part. So anyway, they talk for a while. There is a question here where Maddie, the main character, says she's afraid of the dark a little. And here we can see there's a curiosity with this creature, wanting to know the name. Would this girl make fun of her? And then finally the new girl says, me too. And the creature says, oh, she's kind. So a lot of this is going to be this creature getting to know this new girl. And you'll see later on that there is a Maddie and this creature have a relationship, or a history, I should say. So we learn the other girl's name is Kelsey, and the the creature ruminates about that a little bit. A boy or a girl this time. And then we see here that she says, "Thanks for not making fun. My brother and now used to make fun of before." And I said, "Okay, well, what happened here?" So what I thought at this point was maybe Maddie had fed her brother, or maybe there was an accident when she first encountered this creature. There was some kind of something that happened, because you can see she trails off here. And then I go on. Before was a time of happier days or sadder ones, depending on whom you asked. And this is all from the character's POV. She's hard to read, and then finally she sees her expression, and it says sadder. And then Kelsey, keeps her kindness and acknowledges the tragic event. And then they continue that silent bonding by holding hands, getting closer together, and then there's a wind that kind of creeps up the wall, and then tousles their skirts, and then that kind of sets them to giggling. It's a good point in breaking the mood. It was kind of a somber mood at that point, and so I thought that would be kind of a cool moment to just break the tension. And then we see a bird sing a measure, but it did not compare to the girl's song. And then here we go. Kelsey, the instigator. Have you ever gone skinny dipping? If I live this close to the lake, no one ever noticed. And then we have the creature prodding internally. Not directly. It's not like they have some kind of telekinetic bond, I don't think, but just that's what she's thinking, or it's thinking. And then Maddie is torn here. She knows what's coming. She's looking at the sky. And then Kelsey breaks from her reverie. And then she says no, she doesn't. And I think this no is an indication that maybe Maddie wants this thing to stop, whatever's happening. And I think it definitely at this point I knew that the story was going to end up Maddie either forced to lead people to this thing, or, yeah, I guess it would be forced because she's reluctant. But she knows she has to do it for some reason. I don't know yet at this point. And then, she's, is it a dare? Why not? Kelsey, I thought better of you. The creature at first acknowledges that Kelsey is a kind person, and then her youthful prodding shows up right here. And then Maddie's upset. She turns away. But then there's a moment here where Kelsey reaches out and plucks a splinter off her back before she touches her, apologizing. And then I decided maybe the leaves. There's a lot of leaves around this creature. It's looks like it's under some kind of oak tree, maybe. I can't tell. I don't know leaves very well. So I thought maybe it's almost as if this creature is connected to the environment, to nature, and that's what was happening. It's almost as if they know what's coming. And then Maddie held her breath. Maddie's a little upset, saying, "I thought you were making fun of me." And then Kelsey apologizes, but Maddie finally gives in. She knows that this thing is what's going to happen is inevitable. I don't know what would happen if she didn't do this. Maybe Maddie or her family, more of her family, would be the victims. So she has to uh, bring this thing food. I'm not sure yet, really. I still don't really know. I think it's up to interpretation. There's plenty of possibilities. And then here we see, oh yes, we can. That's the creature. And then Kelsey, goes back like, no, we don't have to. But then her trickster nature comes back, and we see here that the creature is admiring her hair. But it would be fun, wouldn't it? Yep, the creature says fun. And then everything stops. It's almost as if the world itself is holding its breath. And then Maddie says, yes, it would be. And that's the answer this creature was waiting for. So Kelsey sat up. She's very excited, clearly, but have to be quiet. Yes, duh. She's admiring her scent. It's almost as if I think, if you get like a very nice meal and you're admiring like the glistening meat or whatever the colors on the plate. That's what this creature is doing at this point. And then Maddie slides down the balcony and slips through the window. The curtain's undisturbed by her passing a ghost. And I think what I was trying to do there is make her feel as almost like this was routine, that she's done this a lot. But it also could be that she's not anxious to make this happen, so she walks by so slowly as if she's not even there. And then we hear Kelsey, with her side, the creature's watching her. Oh, she's up to good things, Kelsey, the creature says. Like a good girl, Maddie appears soon after. She's bringing some towels. And then here I use some imagery of these towels draped over the balcony rail as tombstones. A little bit of foreshadowing. Maybe it's too obvious. And then we see here that Kelsey climbs down. Even though Kelsey is a little bit mischievous by wanting to go skinny dipping, we can see here that the creature notes that she's cautious because she climbs down carefully. Oh, another misspelling. There we go. And the creature notes, yes, she's cautious, which is another cue. And then the girls climb down the terrace. And then Maddie, for some reason, I guess I decided there's a path leading to the, I'm not sure why Maddie wants to stick to the path. And then Kelsey, says, don't you love the grass on your bare feet? And there's a fear here of Maddie. So she's on this trampled path that her and her brother had carved nearly a year ago. Back and forth they went to the house, creating a road away. So it's almost like a gateway or a road to this creature. And then Maddie, wants to stick the path. And Kelsey tests the ground, cold, yes, but not cool, soothing. And once again, this is internal from the creature, just anticipating or imagining what's going on in Kelsey's head. And then here we have the eyes opening, and that's what's depicted here in the image. We see these two dots that make this image all the more frightening, I think. And this is when everything turns. So I needed to make sure that the Kelsey or both the girls knew there had to be a moment where it was almost as if something like a creature was luring its prey over to it. So yeah, Kelsey notices it, squinted hard so that her heart might pop fireflies. This is another squinted so hard that her eyes might pop. I felt that was kind of like I think I almost wrote like ripe grapes or something like that, but decided against it. But I think it still has that. It evokes the food nature of things. And then we say fireflies, and then it's a very brief statement, almost uncaring. I think you can tell there's still some reluctance here with Maddie. And the creature acknowledges that you can do better because she knows what Kelsey knows. As she laughs, wrong season, silly. Maddie, once again, doesn't fight back at first. She looks at her toes. She's still very reluctant to do any of this stuff. And here the creature, once again, the soil won't hurt you, Maddie. You know that. And Maddie gives in to what she knows she has to do by making up the story. Oh, they mate this time of year. Didn't you know that? That's why there's just two, which being obviously the two eyeballs. The last one's probably, and she kind of paints this as a picture here of a tragic love story. It's sad, frozen there so far apart. It's like they've forgotten what to do. That's when Kelsey buys it. She doesn't prod further or question her friend, and we note here that the creature notices acceptance. Kelsey decides it can help, and then maybe catching these fireflies and getting them closer in a closer proximity would help them mate. And then here the creature is reminding Maddie from afar that these jars are overturned in the mud, so they stay hidden. And then her brother comes back. She always remembers her brother, who apparently I decide at this point died tragically. It was probably consumed by this creature. And the creature, is still here trying to keep Maddie on track. Don't let your thoughts muddle this event or ruin it. Kelsey, without any kind of response, just dashes down the hill, and we here see once again we're evoking the food, the sense of smell here. The smell, sweet, fresh perfection. And then here with a pop, Kelsey pulled out one of the jars from the mud, just where Maddie said they would be. And I think that kind of evokes. I wasn't even thinking it at the time. I was thinking just more of an audible effect, but I feel like that fits with the food imagery. Kelsey, beckons her friend, kind of entranced by the lettering on the jar, or is she looking through it, like a presence she detected within that jar or beyond it, which means could be the creature. Was she that clever? The creature's once again wondering what's going on here. But Maddie was already there, moving silently behind her, arm shaking like the branches now, twitching with delight. And then we see here that doesn't take much. A shove, not too hard, not too soft. Maddie didn't have to work much, meaning the character met her in the middle. And she didn't have to do a lot of work. Just bring this girl to the bank. Kelsey plunged into the water quietly. Perfect. And then, as always, Maddie, Roy can feel it. And I think right here I decided maybe that when this creature consumes people, that they're within them somehow. Or maybe this creature's just using it as a way to reassure Maddie that her brother, maybe she thinks she's doing this for her brother. Maybe that this creature told her once that, if you feed me, your brother will always remain alive in some respect. I don't know. And then she tells her not to worry, go to sleep. Good girl, Maddie, good girl. And so that concludes it. I was happy with this one. I thought the language was simple, and that's what I was going for. It was clean. It didn't feel too wordy or overwritten. I enjoyed telling it from the creature's perspective. So sorry again, I didn't have the actual time lapse. Hopefully the short few minutes of screen capture is proof enough. The wind carried their voices, soft but familiar, the songs of birds. You sure it's okay to be up here? She asked, the new girl. The stars illuminated them, two pewter figurines lost high on a rooftop. Yes, the known girl said, the girl who promised. Madeline to her grandmother, Maddie to her mother, Mads to her father. What did this new girl call her? She would know soon. The stars, so bright this evening, crystalline. Maddie? Maddie. Yes? Maddie asked. I can't believe how bright it is tonight, the new girl said. I'm not sure if I'll be able to sleep with so much light. I always sleep with the window open, Maddie said. I'm still afraid of the dark a little. A silence then. Would the other girl mock her? What was her name? Me too, the new girl said. Kind. Kelsey? Kelsey. A boy or a girl? A girl this time. Yeah? Thanks for not making fun. My brother used to make fun before. Before was a time of happier days, or sadder ones. It depended on whom you asked. Her father would say happier, her mother too. What about Maddie, though? Hard to read that one, with her face as bright as the moon, as bright as all the stars combined. It shined now. Sadder, I said to the sky. I know, Kelsey said. I mean, I didn't know your brother, but I know. Maddie and Kelsey held hands then, silkworms intertwined. They moved closer together, shoulders almost touching. The wind crept up the wall, over the rain gutter, and up the roof to tousle their skirts. Hands broke free to push the skirts down, and they pinned them with knees. They giggled in unison. A bird above sang a measure. It didn't compare to the girl's song. Have you ever gone skinny dipping? Kelsey asked. If I lived this close to the lake, I know I would. You could climb down from the balcony and no one would ever notice. Maddie, tell her. Maddie didn't speak. Her mind somewhere else, her eyes on the sky, back and forth, a satellite searching. For what? Maddie? No. No? Why not? Are you scared? Another giggle. A dare? Oh, Kelsey, I thought better of you. Maddie turned away from Kelsey. Kelsey watched her back a moment before reaching out to pick away a shingle splinter. Then a soft touch between the shoulder blades where everything was connected. Roots, branches. The leaves chattered. Maddie held her breath. How long could she do it? I thought you weren't making fun of me, Maddie finally said. I'm not. I'm sorry. Maddie rolled over to face Kelsey. We can. Yes, we can. We don't have to, Kelsey said. The kindness was back. But wait. Eyes rolling around, thoughts frolicking in that sweet head wreathed in locks of a gold that would make the sun jealous. But it would be fun, wouldn't it? Fun. The grass stilled, the leaves, the water. It would be fun, Maddie said. Kelsey sat up at that, shoulders set as high as her ears. That smile, what a smile. We have to be quiet, though. Duh, Kelsey grinned, a crescent that was almost as delicious as the full set. Without another word, Maddie slid down to her balcony and slipped through the window, the curtains undisturbed by her passing, a ghost. Kelsey lay back on her side as if listening through the roof to hear what her friend was up to. She's up to good things, Kelsey. Like a good girl, Maddie appeared soon after, 2 towels draped over her arm. She placed them on the rail, clean, white. Tombstones on a hill of ivy, on a hill of shadows. Kelsey climbed down to the balcony more carefully than Maddie had. Cautious. Kelsey took a towel, and then Maddie. The girls climbed down the terrace, ivy tickling them the whole way. Laughter was stifled, bodies stiff, evident from this distance. We should stick to the path, Maddie said. Why? Don't you love the grass on your bare feet? Maddie curled her toes on the trampled path that she and her brother had carved nearly a year ago. Back and forth they went, to the water, to the house, creating a road, away. No, Maddie said. Suit yourself, Kelsey said and tested the ground. Spongy, yes. Cold, yes. But not too cold. Soothing. Eyes opened. Do you see that? Kelsey asked, squatting as if that would give her a better view. She squinted hard, so hard her eyes might pop. Fireflies. You can do better than that, Maddie. Kelsey laughed at her error. Wrong season, silly. Maddie shrugged and looked at her toes, which remained curled. The soil won't hurt you, Maddie. You know that. They made this time of year, Maddie said. Didn't you know that? That's why there's just 2. The last ones, probably. It's sad. Frozen there, so far apart. It's like they've forgotten what to do. Kelsey looked at Maddie, then looked back to the lake. Her expression softened to acceptance. Maybe we can help, Kelsey said. Do you have a jar? On the bank, Maddie. Overturned in the mud, so they stay hidden. On the bank, Roy and I. No, Maddie, not now. Kelsey dashed down the hill. The smell, oh, the smell. Sweet, fresh, perfection. With a pop, Kelsey pulled one of the jars from the mud, just where Maddie said they would be. Aren't you coming? Kelsey said, admiring the jar, the embossed lettering she couldn't quite make out. A presence she detected within that jar, or beyond it. Was she that clever? But Maddie was already here, arms shaking, shaking like the branches now, twitching with delight. A shove, not too hard, not too soft. Maddie didn't have to work much. Kelsey plunged into the water, quietly. Perfect. As always, Maddie. Roy can feel it, taste it. Don't you worry. Now go to sleep, quietly. Good girl, Maddie. Good girl. Well, if you couldn't tell, I'm much happier about this one, how it turned out. I felt like I captured more of that horror element, that vibe. Did introduce two characters, or even more, I guess, if you count the family and the brother, that didn't exist in the painting. But I think that was the challenge here, is identifying what happened. So was this the was this the ending of the story? Was the beginning of the story? What was it? Was it a memory? And it wasn't any of those, really. I guess it was the moment where Kelsey saw these two eyes out on the lake and was drawn to them. And I think part of that had to do with the fact that there wasn't much visual story there. It was kind of a moment in time, like a snapshot of this versus a scene or anything like that. So I hope when you're reading it or listening to it, you're feeling the dread. You're looking into this character's eyes, and you're internalizing how it feels or how it's perceiving these two girls as prey on this rooftop, just ready for them to come down, ready for one of them to lure the new one down. I think that's effective because I think you can look at this painting and get into the head of this creature to a degree. Hopefully I fulfilled my horror duty. Any horror fans out there, let me know if you think it's terrible. I know it wasn't gritty. It was kind of dark. It was almost like Scary Stories. If you guys have ever read that old book, I love it. That kind of folklore, I guess you could call it. But if you have any artwork, if you have any genres you'd like me to cover, let me know in the comments below. Love to hear from you. I know a few of you are watching. Don't be afraid to post something. Thanks to you, very, very few people are checking this out. It's a lot of fun for me. I hope you're getting something out of it. Thank you for watching. See you next week. If you'd like to read this story in its non-video format, check the link in the description. I didn't add anything else, promise. Thanks again.